So many guitar players set goals wrong, or at least in a way that's not bringing them closer to achieving those goals. I'm Jake, and for the last 16 years, I've been teaching the coolest people on the internet how to play guitar. I'm going to break down exactly how I teach my students to set goals on guitar and how I still set goals after 24 years of playing. This way of setting goals virtually guarantees you will make more and faster progress on your instrument. I'm going to go over what doesn't work, what I see people doing most often first. Then I'm going to break down exactly what you should be doing instead. So let's start with what doesn't work. There are two things that people tend to do when they're setting goals. The first is to have a ton. Scales and licks and genres and techniques. There's so many things that they want to do, which rightfully so. All those things are awesome. And so many of us want to do those awesome things on guitar. But what happens is when we set too many varied, wide, different goals, we don't know what to practice every day. And so we do a couple different things. We sit down and for 20 minutes, we bounce around really quickly to a bunch of things, never really making a lot of forward progress on any of them. Or we practice a different thing each day and maybe we do it deeply, but we're not repeating it enough to build up that muscle memory to really put those things in our bag of tricks so we can pull it out again in the future. We're not making as quick a progress on each of those things as we might otherwise do. Now, the other opposite end of that is setting goals that are way too specific. Maybe it's just learning this one scale, or maybe it's just learning this one technique, or just this intro on the song. We set a super specific goal. The problem is that that's not very much fun to practice. Sitting down and running the same scale 5 days in a row at roughly the same tempos, maybe changing up the pattern we're playing a little bit, it's really not going to provide us that excitement because we're not seeing what we're using that scale for. We're not seeing how that applies musically to music that we want to make. So what does work? Well, I tell students to pick one target song. Now, that doesn't mean you only ever practice one song, but it means we're going to decide what exercises, what goal, what everything is based on that one song. I'm going to go into a little more detail, then I'm going to apply it to a song so you can see exactly what I mean. See, if you have a goal to play XYZ song, you know exactly what chords you need to learn. You need to know what chords you need to learn to change between. You need to learn exactly this strum pattern. You need these scales for your solo. You need to learn these licks for the intro. You know exactly what you need to do because you picked one song that's the target. Now, what's beautiful about this is the chords and the scales fit together perfectly because it's the chord and the scales that you're working on for this particular song. Now, it works with super simple songs. If maybe you're just starting and you're doing open strumming, perfect. If it's more advanced and you're learning a jazz song with 14 different chords and lots of changes and different scales you need, also perfect. By picking one song that's our goal, that we structure our exercises around, that we structure the things we're working on around, we know that we are making progress towards using it to play actual music every time we pick up the instrument. Now, I said that I was going to break down how to do this on a song, and I'm going to do that in just a sec. But before I do, I want to invite you to join me in my free course and community at school.com/guitar. Again, that's school.com/guitar. Some of the best people on the internet learning to play guitar are in there having fun, swapping videos, and making progress. Just wanted to extend the invite. Okay, let's break this down for one particular song. Let's take Knockin' on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan. This song's going to have 4 chords. We're going to have a G, D, A minor, and then we have a C chord as well. Okay, boom. We've got 4 chords. We know exactly which ones we need to learn. And we know once we learn them, boom, we're using them for a song. Now we need to learn to change between those chords. So the chord progression in this song goes G, D, A minor, then G, D, C. Now why is this important? Well, in Knockin' on Heaven's Door, we never have to change from an A minor chord to a C chord. That change doesn't happen. So we don't need to spend our practice time working on that change because it's not coming up in something that we're working on. Now, in the future, that change will likely come up and we will practice it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it instead of spending valuable practice time on something that isn't in the song that we're focused on. Now, next we would need to learn the strum pattern that we would use for that song. And again, we're going to add that in with those chord changes. But we could even take it a step further and say, okay, what scale would I use if I were going to take a solo, say, at an open jam, or if you were doing an open mic night, something like that? Well, we could say, okay, I want to use it would be maybe G major pentatonic, or you could use the G major scale. Either one would work. But now we know exactly what scale to work. Now, if it's our very first time ever playing a solo, maybe we just learn one position of the G major pentatonic scale, and that would be perfect. But if we've been playing scales for a really long time, maybe we pick a new part of the neck and we say, hey, I want to learn a new shape of the G major pentatonic scale, and I want to learn one that's going to bring me up the neck. And that would be a perfect thing to practice, because you know you can immediately apply that scale to playing a solo over the song that you're already learning, instead of it just being a disconnected scale that you might use someday in the future. Now, we've talked about how to set goals on guitar in the most efficient way possible by picking a target song. Now, if you need a song to target that is guaranteed to take you through some of the most important fundamentals, this video has 4 songs for you to choose from.